Just a brief disclaimer for this episode. In some of our candid, unscripted conversations, we use the word transgender as a blatant term for all non-conforming genders. That is our mistake. We did not mean to offend anybody. I just want to give you guys a heads up.
So welcome back, everybody. This is going to be episode 7 of the Hawks and Hecklers podcast. I'm here with
Henry Lavoie.
He's eating a cookie. He's kind of preoccupied, but we got some actually very important things to talk about today, which includes the gown situation, which I think many people have been hearing about around the school lately. We're going to be here to clear all that up for you, give you a lot of angles and perspectives from a lot of different people who have different opinions, and just kind of lay out the whole situation for you so you are informed and not hearing false information.
We'll also have a brief interview with Sam Thompson talking about the effects of the school board meeting, which happened a few weeks ago now, right?
Yeah. So I'd say it's about time to jump into the gown situation. So, contrary to popular thought, this has been a topic that has been discussed by the school for a couple years now.
Mr. Kelly wanted to talk with the senior class advisors, so Mrs. Cintros, Pete, and I sat down with him on Thursday in advisory last week. This is not just a movement within Hopkinton. This is a nationwide movement, and Mr. Kelly's been considering making this change for over a year now.
You have some notes from the meeting you had from Mr. Kelly. Hear what he had to say about this. I know a lot of you saw the email, which pretty much just laid out the whole situation.
I'm sure, like Larson said, most of you read the email, and he kind of summed up a lot of the same points. So the biggest one is, the school board has a policy which basically requires that all school activities are accessible to all students. Graduation is probably the biggest school activity for any one class. It has 100% participation every single year.
Hopefully,
yeah. You never know with these things.
Yeah, we got a couple stragglers.
But this case, obviously, somebody who is transgender, non-binary, non-conforming, while this will still be accessible to them, not everybody is snugly green or white. So this obviously causes some issues, makes it less comfortable for some people. So the accessibility is the number one thing. Another argument that a lot of people are making right now is, why does it have to be our grade? Like, all the stupid things the school decides always happen to our grade, blah, blah, blah. I think it's really important that this happens now, before we have, a trans kid graduating school who's open about that sort of thing. Because if the school's proactive, then we don't even have to worry about that. Where if we did have a trans kid in our grade this year, then everybody would blame that kid for changing the graduation gown. And again, like, I'm sure many of you have seen my open opinions about this on social media, but as somebody who is transgender, non-conforming, you already have to put up with so much on a daily basis, and I think the graduation gowns are just one more thing in that vein. So being proactive and not reactive, I think, is great action by the school.
So we're going to bring you a lot of interviews. So we'll start off with some people in support.
All right, so first off, could you just introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sophia Graby. I'm a senior this year at Hopkinton High School.
So recently, there's been a decision by the administration to switch from our traditional graduation gowns. As head of the Gay Straight Alliance, what do you think about this decision?
I think it's a step in the right direction, especially considering that everybody will be wearing green with a white sash, so it will still have the traditional green and white, but it won't unnecessarily divide people by gender when there's not really any sort of need for that, since we've all accomplished the same thing. And it also won't force any students that may feel uncomfortable conforming to either male or female standards into to making a decision about coming out and saying that, or being very uncomfortable, because those are kind of their two options.
What do you think about opposition in terms of people saying that it ruins tradition from a high school?
Frankly, I think that making progress and making everybody feel comfortable is more important than preserving very specific traditions when we're already making an effort to preserve them, at least in some regard.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. So I also emailed the class advisor for the Gay Straight Alliance, Nancy Skarmas, who agreed to answer a few questions. I asked her why she thinks it's important to institute this policy, to which she replied that gender plays no role in graduation. Every graduate receives the same diploma. It seems correct that every graduate wears the same robe.
I'll talk about how I felt on this issue, because I kind of had this knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, this is so stupid, and screw this, and all that. But, like, everyone's receiving the same diploma, so it really doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me getting my diploma. It doesn't affect what I'm going to remember graduation by. Like, it really just doesn't matter to me. I don't think it should be really a big issue for everybody else. You're getting a diploma. You graduated high school. Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. And despite what people say, the gown is a symbol in some respect. You know, everyone wears it when they graduate high school. It is kind of like a hallmark. It's a big deal. And separating them arbitrarily by color, by gender, you know, that does have some symbolic meaning to it. So that is important.
Yeah, like, actually, honestly, combining, like, making it all one color kind of is a sign of unification of everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now we also have some other perspectives on the issue from people that don't necessarily agree with Mr. Kelly's policy.
So first off, could you just introduce yourself?
I'm Maddie McCluskey.
So from what I understand, you're not so happy about the decision that we're no longer having green and white graduation gowns this year.
No, I'm kind of pissed because it's tradition, and I know, like, my mom did it 30 years ago. She wore white, and kind of want to carry on that tradition. I don't really care if you're a girl or a boy. If you want to pick your color, you can pick your color. Just don't ruin it for the rest of us.
All right, so can we just start with you two introducing yourselves?
I'm Carter Haley.
Grace Clark.
We're trying not to get in trouble for Miss Gagnon this time with Grace.
Thank you.
So how are you both involved with this graduation gown movement?
So we both started this petition to keep it how the old way is. If someone feels as if they want to wear the other color, no one has a problem with that. It's just we both think that we should have the option for girls to wear white if they want to.
Why do you think that choice is important?
To think about it. Like, I just feel like since I understand and I do support the ideas of this movement, I think it is an important issue, but a part of this movement stands for choice and having the opportunity to do what you want to do in order to express yourself in the best way possible. The way the majority feels as of right now might be different from the way it is in the future. And I don't know, change is imminent for everything, but this might take longer to change.
So you're saying it should be the majority decision of this senior class. So if the next senior class were to majority decision say we want to have all the same robes, that should be what they carry out.
Yeah, that's democracy for you.
The issue that this is trying to address is people who feel uncomfortable, you know, with having robes, which is just a minority of the people. How do you think that affects this issue?
I appreciate that. It's still, it sounds offensive to say it, but it's still, if it's not everyone, I don't understand,
I think
you
that
can't decide for everyone.
for minorities, it really shouldn't affect the general majority if they disagree. If the majority of people want to do something, it doesn't really matter what the minority want to do in that case.
So I would personally like to just address that point. We've been hearing a lot of people saying things like, I agree with this policy, I just don't like the way the administration handled it. Do you think that's accurate, Larson?
Oh, I've heard that at least 4 or 5 times.
Exactly. So, you know, I have a few things to say about this. First one being, this school is not a democracy. You go to a public high school, the administration makes decisions all the time without our consent. Mr. Kelly is not an elected official, despite what people have been saying. That's just not true.
No, elected official? That's so stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So he absolutely has the right to make these decisions. My second point, which is even more important, is if you truly think that the policy is a good thing, then why do you care how the administration handled it? It could have been Mr. Kelly, it could have been Larson, could have been a monkey who instituted this policy. Why would you care if you believed that it's a good thing? So please stop saying that you think the policy is good, but the way the administration handled it is not. Yes, we were kept in the dark, but who cares? It is a good thing for transgender people, and that's what matters at the end of the day.
I think it's really interesting that a lot of people's opinions have swayed back and forth since they heard the news.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing here is that I feel like there is kind of this knee-jerk reaction where, like, I feel like seniors, there is this kind of, like, screw the man mentality that everyone has. Like, would you agree with that, Larson?
I would absolutely. I mean, I'm a culprit.
Yeah, exactly. Signing that petition is not opposition to Mr. Kelly. It's not opposition to Mrs. Gagnon, to the administration, school board, whatever. It's opposition to transgender people. And I think
I don't even know if it's an opposition to transgender people as an immediate reaction. I think it's an opposition to change. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I mean, would come off as an opposition to transgender people, but I don't think that would.
I don't think it comes off as that. I think that's what it is.
You really think so?
I know so.
Why do you think that's just a reaction to change?
Because I think a lot of it is, I don't want to specifically say, but like girls in our grade, I think are unhappy. I think to me it seems like they just would rather wear white, and it's more of just like a preference thing more than anything else, and that's what I've seen. I mean, obviously it does target transgenders, absolutely. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that I don't think that was the immediate forethought of the action.
And I totally agree with you. I mean, I have to admit that I'm one of the people who signed that petition initially. Now I obviously regret it, but I think everybody has their reasoning for, initially being on board with saying screw this policy. But after thinking about it for just a few seconds, I mean, at its core, this is a transgender rights versus non-transgender rights issue.
So we're here with Sam Thompson. He's our school board rep, and he's going to tell us all about the school board meeting, what it means for the school.
So pretty exciting opening in the morning because they opened up with the school repair bond and the budget were the first two items to vote on. I mean, the bond, people were really stressed out over it, but at the actual meeting, it was just a bunch of people in a row standing up to support it, so it went pretty well. I kind of understand the point of the business owners and stuff who just have ridiculous property taxes now, but I mean, we don't really have a tax base, so there's not a way around it, and you just kind of need to support education. It's like not something you can get around.
So the bond ended up passing.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for the school going forward then?
Going forward, they're gonna work on some of the maintenance issues this summer, like replacing the roofs, some of the more pressing issues. After that, they're going to really work on the more long-term issues, like redoing the science labs and additions to Harold Martin, which will most likely come in the 1920 school year.
So will Mr. Krogman's roof still leak by the end of the year?
Probably by the end of this year, but it's definitely going to change over the summer. It's buckets for now.
Yeah. Is there anything else that was decided on during the school board meeting?
The budget went through with a small reduction, but less than was kind of expected. So it might have some small effects for the school year coming up, but it's really what we were expecting. So it's pretty straightforward.
Just a quick question. How do you feel about the science labs?
There are definitely some good points about how they're not up to like a current modern standard or anything, but the real issue that was the motivation for the change in the science labs is that because we only have one safe chem lab, we can't schedule things the way that schools really should be scheduling, which is based on student requests. We have to schedule based on what our building can do, and so it's kind of a backwards system that isn't like good in terms of accreditation.
All
All right, so I'm looking at our Instagram account. Look, there's a real discrepancy here. We have 82 followers on Instagram, but only 79 subscribers on YouTube. What the hell is that?
Yeah, you three motherfuckers who have the audacity to not subscribe to the YouTube channel better get on that if you want that chalk talk.
It won't come out unless we get those. What do you say about that, Joe?
It's not gonna come out. I mean, we have Jake scheduled almost every day of the week just in case we get 87 subscribers on any given day, so we can immediately do it if we need to. I'm telling you, we can do it. It's not that we haven't been able to do it. We will do it.
Hey, also, one other thing I'd like to point out is that we've been getting, like, about 200 views on each episode, but it's BS, because only, like, 15 people like our videos. We need to get more likes. 228 views should equal 228 likes. You guys are all viewing this. I know you like our videos. We've been hearing it. Everybody likes our podcast. Would you say that's correct?
Absolutely, no doubt.
Joe?
I haven't heard any complaints.
Besides the juniors, but that's relevant now. So basically, we need more likes. We need that showing is gonna get us more popularity on YouTube around the world, because obviously the end goal of this is to make money.
Oh yeah, I'm not planning on being employed other than YouTube for the rest of my life.
All right, well, with that, this has been a very comprehensive episode 7 of Hawks and Hecklers. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and you are now much more well informed than you were about 15 or 20 minutes ago. So have a nice day, and get ready for episode 8 coming next week.